Hey, everybody, I'm James Edward Clarke. I'm the co creator of the Laser Drug Force and the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, and you're listening to the True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to celebrate Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with James Edward Clarke about co-creating the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, published by Mad Cave Studios. James Edward Clarke is an illustrator and letterer based in Toronto, Ontario. His comic book work includes Evil Comics, Tales to Enlighten, and Pissant Apocalypse. His current project, with co-creator Fred Kennedy, is the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, published by Mad Cave Studios. The story of the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre comic book series goes like this. Disco Hippo Wonderland is a #1 amusement park in Flamingo City, but few realize its corpulent owner, M'jor Discau, is about to release the most potent drug ever created, Coke 45. Fortunately for humanity, Agent Clarke Nebraska is on the case. She'll bring down Disco come heck or high water. That was a plan until her undercover agent Tico Senocoza was captured. But before she can rescue him, Miguel, Tico's sexy, loose cannon older brother, beats her to the punch, storming into the park with bullets flying. Disco panics, dumping the Coke 45 into the Hippo enclosure, letting them loose on the park, before fleeing into Wonderland's tunnel network. Nebraska's plans are totally off the rails, and things get worse when a marijuana smoke-fueled hurricane drowns the park in a torrential rain. Now it's up to Nebraska and Miguel to create an uncomfortable truce to bring Disco down before he escapes. So, without further ado, here's my chat with James Edward Clarke about co-creating the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, published by Mad Cave Studios.
So, James Edward Clarke, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I would like to know, what was the first comic book you read?
John Byrne action comic from, I forget the issue. I think it was like 586. I remember that because I'm like born in May 86, so 586. It was like John Byrne drawn and written. It was a crossover between Superman and New Gods. I remember it had like Granny Goodness, and they had brainwashed Superman into thinking he was a different character, and then Orion used like his magic computer to like make him realize who he was again, and they fought with Doomsday. It's a good issue.
Great stuff growing up, but I'm wondering who or what inspires you to create today?
Well, I'm doing it for a living, so I kind of just have to keep cranking it out so I can make money. There are a lot of like guys I like a lot, like Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker books. You know, I just bought the one that just came out, the criminal book they just released. Read Martian Manhunter, that was good.
Well, we just recently met up at the Toronto Comic Arts Festival, so I got to ask you, how was that event for you? Did it work okay?
It was all right. They stuck me up on like the 4th floor next to the bathroom. Most people didn't even know I was there. Like I was leaving the first day, the Saturday. I ran into somebody I knew on the way out. They're like, "Oh, where were you?" "I'm up on the 4th floor," I told them. And they were like, "Oh, I didn't even know there was anyone up on the 4th floor." So it's a little frustrating like that. But other than that, I went fine.
Yeah, that was something a bit new this year. They putting people up there, and on the opposite side, they had a games section. Perhaps a little bit more wayfinding, a little bit more notice, I guess, to attendees could help get more traffic up there, perhaps.
Yeah, we'll see. But again, next year.
So I want to congratulate you on all the success with your book, The Laser Drug Force and the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. That's a mouthful. So congratulations on the book.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's doing pretty well.
I guess there's no way you could have anticipated this wild success.
Well, we were hopeful. Like the crazy title and everything was kind of designed to get people's attention right off the bat. And just try and make it stand out among everything else on the stand.
And that's tough to do. Yeah, really succeeded there. So how would you describe the story to someone, if you could?
It's about a amusement park down in Florida. It's like marine land, but instead of dolphins, it's all hippopotamuses. But the whole park is just a big front for the owner's drug empire. He runs out of it as a front. The cops are onto him. They raid the place one day. Everything goes sideways. The villain escapes the underground catacombs below the park, blows up all the exits and entrances, feeds all the cocaine to hippopotamuses, and sets them loose on the patrons. And we're following the police as they try and navigate the park and survive.
So I think I was reading that Fred compared it to Police Squad meets Miami Vice, something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Miami Vice mixed with Airplane or Naked Gun movies, basically. It's like an action comedy.
So your collaborator on the book is Fred Kennedy. So I've got to ask you, what was it like working with Fred on this book?
Fred's been great. I've known him probably 15 years or so, just through conventions and stuff like that. He's been wanting to work with me for a while. He's pitched a few different ideas, but I've been busy, usually with my other books in the past. I was wrapping up the Kickstarter I did for my one book, Pissant Apocalypse, and he sent me kind of the first draft of this. Like the working title originally was like Coked Up Hippos or something like that. Pissant Apocalypse was like a real dark post-apocalyptic thing, real over the top with the sex and violence. So I kind of wanted to wheel things in a bit, and like he sent me the script for this. It's kind of a loose action comedy thing. So I wanted to do like a big crowd-pleasing, funny book, sort of as a counterbalance to like my previous 3-4 books.
Can you talk a little bit about the creative process? How did it go working with Fred? Did you both work on the script, or did he send you the script and said go with the visuals, or how did that work out?
It was very collaborative, actually. We went back and forth a bit. What he sent me originally was really kind of a first draft. He'd had like in a drawer for a while. I think he did a convention, he said, with our friend Adam Gorham. And they just were sitting next to each other, knocking ideas about, 80s action movies back and forth and riffing on like 80s cliches. And he sent me the script, went back and forth with him, and we did a few more drafts. It ended up working out kind of as like almost Marvel style, where I would thumbnail out the action and the progression of the story, and he would go in and write all the jokes and stuff. And he would usually write too much, more than I could possibly fit in the lettering. I had to like edit a bit, and I would add stuff and punch up punchlines. So it's very collaborative the whole way through.
I remember reading Fred said in an interview that you wanted to make it more grindhouse and he wanted to make it more silly. How did you two manage to find an even balance for this?
I like to make sense, and Easy to Follow is like more about that. It's kind of like a weird concept, and it's got a lot of moving parts going on. The first issue, especially, like I wanted to make sure it was easy to read, and the whole thing had like a logical progression from one thing to another. And that was like my big thing with the first issue. I didn't change too much except for like adding exposition and making sure like visually when I thumbnailed it out, you could follow the story from one beat to the next. As we went on, like I add more jokes and sort of punch some of the lines up or edit some stuff down and stuff like that.
I wonder if we could switch gears a wee bit and talk about the tools used to create your art in the comic book series. What tools are you using these days?
Mostly like ink with pilot pens, kind of these Japanese pens. Then I would go over with Indian ink. Like I got a big Japanese brush. I'll do all the thicker, more fluid lines. I'll start off with the pilot pen, do all the thin kind of details and all the little ticks I do, and then I'll go over, fill in all the blacks, kind of more fluid lyrical line work. Once it's inked, I'll scan it into Photoshop. My pages are all kind of Frankenstein together in Photoshop, and I'll do all the coloring. I'll letter in Photoshop, although I'll draw the word balloons and scan those in and add those in afterwards.
Have you had any trouble with obtaining these Japanese tools that you were talking about, the brushes?
I was using the same brush for years and years. Then, like, because I'm lazy, I'll just leave it in my little mug full of water with all of my inky water. And then eventually, like, it just started to split down the middle. So in the last year, I bought a new one. I just use the same one. The pilot pens I just buy off Amazon.
Some creators have had trouble due to trade tariffs and this sort of thing, getting the proper tools that they need, that they're accustomed to. So they had to do with other type of alternatives. But you're saying there's no issue in getting the tools you need.
The pens are the main thing, and I just get them off Amazon. They're like $30 for a pack of 12.
So we've been talking about the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. I got to ask you, what's next for you, or is that still an ongoing thing?
We're hoping to do more with the characters, the Laser Drug Force. We're kind of waiting for the publisher to give us the go-ahead. They had some editorial shakeups a few months ago, so it's kind of up in the air what will happen. I've been kind of busy keeping up with commissions and trying to make some money, but that's kind of slowed down during May, so I've been getting antsy wanting to start something new. So I've been thinking like lately, like worst comes to worst, maybe I did a book called Evil, which ends on a cliffhanger. And eventually, like I've been meaning to go back and do the second volume, which is going to be called Good Comics, Good and Evil. So worst comes to worst, I might just do like an independent thing, maybe put on my Substack. People can like subscribe to it, try and make some money doing that. Yeah, I like Substack because I don't need to worry about people seeing it on their algorithm or whatever. It just goes straight to your inbox. You subscribe, you're a fan of mine, you enjoy seeing my work. Like I subscribed to a few people and I got sick of getting the pop-ups. So like, unsubscribe or mark it as spam. It just keeps ending up in my inbox. So I'm like, oh, they got some magical way of, getting it into people's, directly into people.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Owning your mailing list is what I'm hearing is the big mantra these days. That way you can talk directly.
I do have a mailing list of about like 2,500 people or so, but even that, like if you use, MailChimp or whichever, a lot of times it'll just end up in people's spam accounts. You can't even be sure people will see it. Substack, they seem to have it figured out.
Well, at the outset, we were talking about TCAF and how that show went for you. Do you have any events on the go for this summer where you're showcasing your work?
The Review Theater down in Toronto, before I was talking to you, I'm trying to finish up a poster for the Miami Connection. They're doing a screening there in July, I think middle or late July. That's like one of those old So Bad It's Good movies from the 80s. I don't know if you ever heard of that one, like Riff Tracks did versions of it. I'm doing a poster for that. I'm going to be there selling my art. I'm going to be at Fan Expo the end of August. Fred's doing some appearances down in the States. I think he's doing New York Comic Con in San Diego. We might be flowing out to Alberta to do a signing in Calgary for a store, but we haven't heard back from them in a little bit, but might be doing that start of August when the trade paperback comes out. We got the trade paperback, Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, coming out July 28th, I believe.
I bet you that'll be a big push for that, getting that into stores and in different places.
Well, we've been promoting it on my Instagram, mostly my stories and stuff, shout out. I think the cutoff is July 6th, so, try and get everybody to pre-order it before the cutoff date.
Well, with everything that you have going on, I'm wondering where should people go online to find out what you're up to?
My Instagram, you just Google me, James Edward Clarke. I think my Instagram pops up, like I said, my Substack, which I'm basically treating like my newsletter for all my updates lately. You go to my Instagram, you go to my link tree, see all the other links. We got links to my other books. We got the book called Tales to Enlighten a few years ago. Print run just sold out of that, so we're going to be doing a second printing, hopefully crowdfund that. I just finished a new cover for that, and we'll be doing a second cover, not safe for work cover, which people can order through Kickstarter eventually when we get that going up. I got that on the horizon, and we'll see what happens. So
those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
Tales to Enlighten, it's coming up. I think that's the next sort of thing I got going on. And, my other books, Evil Comics, Pissant Apocalypse, and we'll see what I end up doing next.
Thanks to James for the chat. You can discover more about James Edward Clarke online at jamesedwardclarke.substack.com and on Instagram at _James_Edward_Clarke_. And you can discover more about Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre at Mad Cave Studios. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more conversations about creators making comic books and graphic novels, and I also encourage you to sign up and subscribe so you'll be notified when those interviews and news articles get published. Remember, you can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media platforms, and you're encouraged to send any and all feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2026.